The Girl with Four Legs, the heartbreaking story of Betty Lou Williams. There are stories history tries to forget. Stories hidden beneath the bright lights of circus tents and sideshow stages. This is the story of Betty Lou Williams. A little girl born different. Born extraordinary. Born with four legs. But beyond the medical mystery was a child, one who laughed, cried, and longed for love like any other. Her story isn't just about her body, it's about humanity, exploitation, and the strength hidden inside the most vulnerable. Early life. Betty Lou Williams was born in 1932 in Albany, Georgia, to a poor African-American family. But unlike other babies, Betty Lou came into the world conjoined to a parasitic twin, an undeveloped sibling whose body was partially fused with hers. The twin had a pelvis, a pair of legs, and even an undeveloped arm, but no head or brain. It could not survive on its own. Yet it was part of Betty Lou's body. And there was no way to remove it safely. Clapperboard emoji, medical marvel turned attraction. Doctors were baffled. In the early 1930s, medicine didn't have the tools to safely operate on such complex conditions. Her parents, unsure of what to do and facing poverty, made a decision that would define Betty Lou's life. They allowed her to be exhibited in sideshows. As the four-legged girl. From a young age, Betty Lou was placed in front of curious crowds. She was displayed at fairs, circuses, and traveling shows. People paid money to stare at her. T was displayed at fairs, circuses, and traveling shows. People paid money to stare at her. To them, she was a spectacle. To her, it was simply life. A child in a world of strangers. Imagine being just 5 years old and spending your days under a tent, watched by hundreds of eyes. Betty Lou smiled through it. She made friends with other performers, many of whom were also born different. They weren't just sideshow freaks, they were human beings surviving in a world that didn't know what to do with them. Despite her condition, Betty Lou was said to be intelligent, warm, and polite. She loved music. She dreamed like every other child. But her body, and the public's fascination, trapped her in a life not of her choosing. The sad decline. As Betty Lou grew older, her condition became harder to manage. There was no medical intervention to ease her burden. By the time she reached her teens, her health began to deteriorate. The very body that had drawn so much attention was now slowly failing her. In 1955, Betty Lou Williams passed away in a hospital at just 23 years old. Her life was short, marked by wonder, misunderstanding, and, perhaps, loneliness. Legacy and reflection. Betty Lou Williams' story is not just one of curiosity, it is a story of how society treats those who are different. She lived in a time when people like her were not seen for who they were, but for what made them unusual. Today, we remember Betty Lou not just as the four-legged girl, but as a symbol, a girl who endured more than most, and whose smile lit up a room, even when the world stared in disbelief. Behind every oddity lies a human soul. And Betty Lou's soul deserves to be remembered. Call to action: if this story touched your heart, take a moment to reflect on the dignity of every person, no matter how different they may appear. Like,